Welcome to the Ripple Effect Podcast, where small shifts create powerful changes. Hey there, I'm Mika Hill, the Pivot Master. I built and sold a successful business by learning to turn life's friction into fuel. Now I'm helping others pivot with purpose, build unshakable resilience, and transform their challenges into momentum. Let's get started with this week's podcast. Let me tell you something no one wants to admit out loud. I didn't choose the pause. None of us really do. Sure, sometimes a pause can be chosen, but most of the time, it chooses us. But this particular pause I just went through, it definitely chose me. And I resisted it with everything I had until I couldn't. My dad got sick. Life slammed the brakes. And everything that felt clear, confident, and in control totally unraveled. Suddenly, I was in that weird space, the limbo between what was and what's next. No map, no clarity, no hustle that could save me. Just stillness, fog, space. And I don't know if you've ever experienced a place like that, but if you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But here's what I need you to hear up front before we go any further. The pause did not break me. It rebuilt me. And I'm starting a movement for all the pauses any of us have ever experienced and had to navigate through. And I'm hoping you'll join me. This is part one of a 3-part series I call the Resilience Arc. Each and every one of us has needed this, is needing it now, or will need it. The Resilience Arc has 3 simple, easy to remember parts that will bring so much clarity to how you experience life. And I'm so excited to share it. Pause, pivot, and rise. And I'm not just teaching it, I'm living it in real time with you. So today we talk about the first phase, the pause, what I call life's apostrophe moments. It's the moments between identities, but it's more than that. It's a space between befores and afters, between what made sense yesterday and what hasn't clicked yet today. It's the hallway between closed doors and new ones you haven't found the courage to open. It's the still space where all your assumptions start to shift and your clarity hasn't quite caught up yet. And that sacred space between breakdown and breakthrough, and sometimes it doesn't look like a big transformation. It looks like nothing, but everything inside of you is shifting. It's uncomfortable, it's invisible, and guess what? It's absolutely essential. And if you're in it, you know it, you feel it, something feels different, off, but not necessarily in a bad way, but maybe like the ground underneath you is shifting, but you're not sure if it's cracking or if it's clearing up space for something new. And let me tell you, that's not weakness. Recognizing that, it's wisdom, likely hard-earned wisdom, the kind you don't get from textbooks, but from navigating your own personal storms, but it's wisdom. And that's power in the progress, whether or not you realize it yet. So I want to tell you about one of my other experiences with the pause. I'll never forget it. Dollar General, laundry aisle, in gym clothes, of course, because socially acceptable pajamas are the official uniform of emotional unraveling. And life doesn't exactly send a calendar invite for a spiritual breakdown, which is what I was having. After we had sold our business, I was there. One of our garbage trucks pulled up and the driver hopped out and smiled and said, "Hey, Mrs. Hill." No clue what I was carrying inside. And in that moment, everything I'd ever wrapped my identity in, business owner, leader, fixer, doer, it all cracked. Who was I without the momentum? That was an apostrophe moment where my next move was waiting, but it was a moment I had kept avoiding. And let me tell you this, every reinvention begins with an interruption. The breakdown I had been avoiding was actually an invitation. The moment where the version of you that once worked doesn't fit anymore, it's all an invitation. And the next one hasn't arrived yet, it's an invitation. The moment where the version of you that once worked doesn't fit anymore, and the next one hasn't arrived, that's a big moment. And maybe you're in that space right now, holding on, but feeling the edges fray. That might be your apostrophe. And it was then that I started to notice patterns, but it was this most recent pause that allowed me to finally put words to a lifetime of change and disruptions. I had a revealing of sorts, one that when I tell you about it, I think it might click for you too. Hopefully, it's going to be the aha moment like it was for me. So during this pause, something really big was revealed. Um, and it was not just in that moment, not just in the grief, but in a way that finally helped me name something I'd been living for decades and just didn't know how to explain. Because here's what no one tells you: change doesn't show up with a warning. It doesn't feel like a clean break or a new beginning. More often, it shows up in the in between, that stretch of space where you've outgrown what was, but you haven't quite grown into what's next. And that weird in between, I have lived it over and over, and maybe you have too. It happened when we sold our company and the adrenaline stopped, when I walked away from roles I had mastered but no longer loved, when success didn't feel like success anymore, when my body rebelled from the constant go, when I felt the tug of something bigger but couldn't name it yet. Each time I'd feel that subtle unraveling, not a full breakdown, not a breakthrough, just a deep cellular knowing that something was shifting, but no roadmap for what came next. I didn't know it then, but those were all apostrophe moments. That strange sacred pause that lives between all major shifts. Not just identity shifts, but energetic shifts, value shifts, desire shifts, life shifts. This wasn't a one-time moment. This was a lifetime pattern finally coming into focus. And once I named it, I could stop trying to rush through it. I could stop seeing it as a weakness, confusion, or failure. I could see it for what it actually was: a pause with purpose, the place where real change begins. You see, the apostrophe is where your old grit dies and your real resilience is born. Most people run from the pause. I'm going to teach you today how to sit in it and rise. And here's the thing: we were taught that if we're not producing, we're falling behind, that pausing is lazy, that stillness equals weakness, that rest is retreat. But let me be clear, that is a lie. The truth: the pause is not where progress dies. It's where the next version of you is born. Silence is sacred and stillness is a strategy. And here's the absurd part: sometimes that version of you starts taking shape in the most unexpected moments. Let me tell you about a friend of mine. She hit her apostrophe, not in therapy, not after a big life event. She hit it in the middle of a meeting. She looked around the room at the spreadsheets, at the people looking back at her, the endless posturing, and she thought, I don't want this life. She didn't say it out loud. She didn't even quit the next day, but internally, everything shifted. That's a pause. That's the apostrophe. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's a whisper that you can't unhear. All right, deep breath, because this next part, it's a truth drop, as if I haven't already done that. One you may not have heard before, but it's one that I need you to hear. So here it is, loud and clear. If you're in the fog, if you feel like something ended, but nothing's begun, if you can't explain it, but everything inside of you feels unsettled, you're not broken. You're in your apostrophe. And I'm planting a darn stake in the ground for this truth. The pause is not a breakdown. It's your rebirth in progress. Because if you can't stop, you can't shift. And sometimes you've got to let the silence speak louder than your fear. So stop branding it. Stop fixing it. Stop apologizing for it. Because this isn't a glitch in your growth. This is your growth. The pause is not a breakdown. So let me tell you about what's next. You've made it this far through the pause. Hopefully you felt it. Now you've got a name for it. Hopefully you'll honor it. But don't get too comfortable here. Because let me tell you, the pause isn't where we stay. It's where we root, But next, we pivot, not with panic, not with performance, but with purpose. That's what part 2 of this series is all about. We're going to talk about what it actually means to flip the grit switch, how to move from pause to pivot when you're ready and not a moment before. You're not going to want to miss this. And let me say this before we wrap. This isn't just my apostrophe. This is our apostrophe. This is a movement of leaders, achievers, and everyone that is trying to wake up to something deeper. This is the space where we stop pretending we've got it all together and we start allowing the next version of ourselves to emerge, messy and real. If you're in it, welcome to it. Embrace it. You're not alone. You're becoming, and I'm glad to be here with you. And if this episode cracks something open in you, good. That means it's working. Now, I want you to take the next step. Get on the list for the resource I created for this exact moment. It's called the Apostrophe Journal, and it's your guide through this space, this stillness, the fog, the rise. And you can get on the wait list at truebasishealth.com/theapostrophe. And if someone you love is in their own apostrophe, send this episode to them. Give them this language. Give them this power. This pause isn't the end of the story. It's the comma before the comeback. So breathe, trust your roots, and know this. Your next version isn't waiting for a perfect plan. They're waiting for you to pause long enough to meet them. I'll see you in part 2. Until then, keep pausing, because beneath the noise is the knowing. This is Mika Hill, signing off. Thank you for being part of today's Ripple Effect. Remember, every pivot point in your life, even the challenging ones, carries the potential for transformation. The resilience you're building today is creating ripples that will impact your tomorrow in ways you can't yet imagine. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your story. Connect with me at True Basis Health or leave a review sharing your biggest takeaway. Until next time, this is Mika Hill reminding you that you're just one purposeful pivot away from your next breakthrough. Keep creating those ripples.